it appears that another wrestling legend could be on his way to AEW. We're going to discuss whether or not I think it's going to happen, whether or not I think it's a good or bad decision. Also, in addition to that, we got some backstage details on Scorpio Sky. Very big, interesting scoop that came from Fightful, but this is something I definitely want to talk about because I think this is actually really good for AEW. And then also, we need to talk a little bit about those ratings. This video is dedicated to AEW because this is a big week for AEW, and we need to discuss the good, bad, and the ugly. If you guys want more videos like this, don't forget, you already know what to do. Subscribe, all that good stuff. Links in the description down below. So let's talk about those AEW ratings. Last night on Dynamite, AEW accomplished just under 1 million viewers. So they had about 945,000 total viewers with a very good key demographic for the 18 and 49. Now, as you guys know, I say that ratings don't really matter. I genuinely believe, whether I'm right or wrong, I genuinely believe that more people are watching AEW and WWE. And I've said this before. So if AEW shows 945,000 viewers, I think overall way more people saw it. I think the technology and the data and everything is just a little bit more of like an outdated system. So I think if AEW is pulling in 945,000, again, I think they're doing really well. But the reason why I want to talk about this is because AEW was the #1 show on cable. Now, have you noticed that AEW did not promote the debut of Jeff Hardy? Yes, Tony Khan did put out a tweet that said, it will be a newsworthy episode, but this just goes to show you that people are still interested in AEW even after a pay-per-view. And I think this is a testament to two things. One, I think the move to TBS, it was kind of like a lateral move, right? It wasn't the most impressive move in terms of ratings and numbers. Yes, I think they saw a little bit more success with TBS, but for the most part, I think AEW on TNT or TBS, it doesn't really change anything. People who want to watch AEW will find a way to watch it. So that's the #1 thing. Number 2, you got to keep in mind, AEW not promoting Jeff Hardy tells you that fans are willing to watch anyways, with or without a tease. Now, granted, the ratings are a little bit more when there is a big tease, but right after that, it tends to drop. So we now know that AEW is roughly anywhere from 800,000 to like 1.1 million viewers. That's what you're going to see with this data that comes out. Now, also just something to kind of keep in mind, without promoting a big tease or anything like that, AEW was the #1 show on cable, which right now is a very good indication that people are interested in AEW. So again, AEW and WWE continue to show that wrestling is a big draw on television. And the only time wrestling really gets beat is when it's competing with like Monday Night Football or the news program when breaking news drops. Other than that, there's not really a show on TV at this point that can, yes, they will at times beat WWE or AEW, but for the most part, WWE and AEW are showing that they are the #1 shows on television, which is a really good win, not only for the two companies, but just for pro wrestling fans in general, because hopefully TV networks and TV partners are looking at this and looking at potential TV deals for other companies that might not be a big draw just yet. All right, guys, some backstage details on Scorpio Sky. They came out from Fightful Select. It appears that Scorpio Sky's title win was planned as far back as 2021. The February departure of Cody Rhodes caused a minimal hiccup in creative plans, but a lot of what went down still happened as planned. Back when Guevara won the TNT title from Miro on September 29th, it was already planned that Rhodes would win the title from Guevara, but then Guevara would win it back. However, that was delayed by a week when Cody Rhodes was unable to make his title defense at Battle of the Belts in January. After winning the belt from Miro in late September, Guevara dropped the belt to Rhodes at the Holiday Bash. Cody was unable to make Battle of the Belts, so they had Guevara defeat Dustin to determine the interim champion, and then Guevara defeated Rhodes, obviously, in that ladder match. Since winning the ladder match, Guevara retained over Isaiah Cassidy, Darby Allin, Andrade, and then Allin and Andrade in a triple threat before losing to Sky last night. So that was very clear to me. They were trying to help Sammy Guevara's reign be a little bit better than the first one. But it just goes to show you that this Cody Rhodes stuff not only is very real, but it also shows you that even when there are hiccups in AEW's plans, they go back to their plans. And it appears that is the big difference that I have noticed between AEW and WWE. Not that I'm putting one against the other, but if you look at WWE, for example, Roman Reigns got COVID, and what happened? They had Brock Lesnar then take the belt from Big E. They completely changed their plans and then now it's going to be champion versus champion title unification. And I don't believe that was always the plans for WWE. But for whatever reason, that's the decision that they made because there was a hiccup. And AEW, on the other hand, they maneuver around this hiccup and they get back to reality. And if they had plans to have Scorpio Sky late 2021, good for them. I think this is the start of a long title reign for Scorpio Sky. I do genuinely believe that. I think a lot of people are calling him a transitional champion. I went live on YouTube for my weekly AEW post show, and I specifically said I think Wardlow will lose his chance against Scorpio Sky because of MJF, and now Scorpio Sky could do his thing. Now he's not a transitional champion, and there's logical sense to Wardlow not winning. Something I really, really appreciate about AEW, if they actually manage to make that happen, is they're not using Scorpio Sky as a transitional champion. I think transitional champions really suck unless the idea of it is to put somebody else over. And I don't think Wardlow is in a position where he actually needs to be put over just because he's been booked so dominant. And he will continue to be booked dominant because the way they've handled Wardlow since the very beginning has been a nice slow burn. So again, credit to AEW here, but it is very interesting to see that they've had this plan for a while. There was hiccups, and it also, again, proves that Cody Rhodes leaving is very, very real. Not saying he won't come back, but it is very real. All right, guys, you're looking at an image of Bret Hart. You might be wondering, what the hell are we discussing Bret Hart for? There's been no confirmation, no reports or anything like that, but one thing that was very interesting is yesterday, Cash Wheeler, Dax Harwood, FTR, they fired Tully Blanchard, and the first thing that immediately happens on Twitter is Dax goes on Twitter and says, Bret, what are you up to? That was the tweet that sparked a lot of conversation, thousands and thousands of likes, hundreds of retweets, a lot of people talking about this, and it got me thinking as to whether or not this is another tease for another signing. Now, keep in mind, we don't know the reason why Tully Blanchard's been fired from FTR, and we don't really know exactly what their plans are, but it appears to me that the goal is for FTR to get back in the title chase, and I don't know what plans AEW might have here. They have a very big roster with a lot of people who could very well be the champions. And that's the difficult thing about AEW. It's not like WWE, Raw, and SmackDown where there's two different tag team champions. They only have one set of tag team belts in AEW. But if FTR were to bring in Bret Hart, I do think it makes a lot of sense because you have to keep in mind as well the Owen Hart tournament will be starting and very soon. And then obviously we have Double or Nothing and everything like that. So Bret Hart going to AEW, in my opinion, has always been inevitable. He was there at the first show presenting the title. A lot of people like Bret Hart. A lot of people love Bret Hart. Obviously, FTR have praised him more than once. I could very well see this actually becoming a thing that happens. I want to know what you guys think overall. Would you be okay with them bringing in Bret Hart? Again, I don't think Bret Hart would be wrestling in AEW, but look at the track record AEW has when it comes to booking these veterans. They do a fantastic job. I don't want to see Bret Hart wrestle, but I do want to see Bret Hart in AEW in a capacity. And if somebody wants to bully him a little bit, he could get a little physical, maybe drop him with a punch or something, but maybe even put in a sharpshooter, right? Nice little pop. Everybody gets excited, but we don't have to watch him wrestle, taking up TV time from somebody else who obviously needs it. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comment section down below, and I'll see you next time.
Myself